Thanks so much. I'm Owen McCabe. I'm the CEO of Intercom, and on behalf of me and the team here and all around the world at Intercom, we just want to say thank you for being here. Welcome, everyone here in London, but also I think many thousands of people live on the stream at X and LinkedIn. We appreciate you all. So we've done a number of these. We call them built for you because I had to look at that to remind myself. We call them built for you because they're all about things we've built for you, and we're very proud of that. We've got nearly 500 people, engineers, designers, PMs working insanely intensely to build mostly great new functionality for Finn. And yeah, we're proud of that. We love to share it. The last couple ones we've done, we've just streamed them. This is the first that's live. But also, the thing that's a little different this time is that we're going to share some of the thinking behind the building. So what will that look like? We will start with our product launch with Paul. Paul's going to announce Insights. It's definitely groundbreaking in the space, in AI applications. I think you'll think it's pretty damn cool. I think it's pretty damn cool. It's a new kind of phase for the customer agent category. We started this category 2 years ago. We launched Finn, the service AI agent. It was outstanding at answering informational queries. Whether that information was in public or private places, it answered quite perfectly and quite consistently very high volumes of queries that customers had about your products and services. In the time since, we've shipped literally hundreds of significant new features and improvements. It now is a very competent worker doing very real tasks integrated with infinite number of systems, working alongside your most competent team members in your customer service departments. As such, it's verifiably and objectively the very best in the category. We are proudly and unapologetically saying that it is number one. It's number one in all the performance benchmarks. It wins in every single customer run bake-off on performance. We've got the most customers. We're voted number one on G2, and we have the longest list of features also. We're really damn proud of that. But today is about what comes after having built this highly competent agent. Yes, we'll still improve that agent over time. It's going to remain number one. But for this space in this industry at large, we're realizing now that these things need management just like people do too. They need monitoring and tuning and tweaking. They need to be brought up to speed with your latest policies or product or feature announcements, or be able to comply with the latest regulations. They will be run by teams of people with new roles and titles, and those people will need entire platforms to run these agents. And today's launch is the first step in that direction and the first of its kind. After that, we've got Des, my co-founder, the head of R&D at Intercom, who's going to talk about the things we're learning about building agents. Not just service agents, but he's going to share his thoughts about building agents in general, which we hope you'll find helpful for thinking through service or customer agents, but also useful with your own businesses. We believe the future of digital experience is going to be often involving things that are agent-like. And yeah, I hope you'll find this interesting and educational. We'll finish with a panel with Des and Paul and two of our favorite new customers from Lovable and Consensys, who are going to talk about insights, agents, and the AI transformation at large too. All right, that's it. I do hope you enjoy. Thank you again, and I'm going to welcome Paul. Thank you.
Hey everyone, thank you Owen. I'm also very excited to be here, as Owen is. Thanks for everyone in London for coming out. It's very exciting to be here again, and thanks to everyone tuning on the stream. We have a great product launch for you today. I hope you're as excited at the end of this as I am now. It's called Insights, and you can probably think about it as customer insights for the AI era. The Insights products that we have and use today were designed 5, 10 years ago in a different decade entirely. So we're trying something new, and we've got some really cool AI-powered features to show you. So as Owen said, Fin is 2 years old, and over that time we've built a lot of configurability into the product, a lot of power into the product, and we're now thinking about Fin as in its third phase of development, or third phase of maturity. The first phase was informational queries. These are like all the frequently asked questions that people get, things like, do you ship to Ireland? Or do you have a free plan? Or do you ship to Ireland? Or do you have a free plan? Like, these are the things that people had to answer over and over again, day in, day out. And that is a tough job. That is monotonous, and people could be put to work doing much more interesting things. So Fin does this really, really well. Fin now does all frontline support for many of our customers. They have freed all of those people up to work on harder things, more interesting things, or freed them up to work on Fin itself. I'm going to show you the system that we're building out with Fin. A lot of the people who are doing frontline support now have a way cooler job. They're like managing Fin, making it better, all sorts of things like that. The second phase was complex queries. That was kind of our big challenge. We proved out the technology that AI could deliver really good service with informational queries, but could it do complicated queries? Could it do things where people needed to know things that were specific to them, like, is my flight delayed? I don't really care about anyone else's flight, only my flight. Or is my baggage lost? Or what plan am I on? Do I deserve an upgrade? All these types of things. Do I get a discount? Where's my order? My food is late. You know, these are things that we all suffer every day. And Fin's very good at that too. We launched a whole bunch of things to help Fin do really complicated queries. Things like tasks, which are these actions Fin can take, so it can read and write to third-party systems. We have guidance to make sure that Fin follows policies. Fin follows the guidelines that different people have in different companies. You know, we learned by partnering with our customers, talking to them, that lots of companies have very different policies for lots of different things. Like, some people have a policy refund that looks very different to a different company's policy refund. They're both valid. It depends on how the economics of the company work. And so Fin needs to be customized, configured to work just like the human support team did when answering these complicated queries. So Fin does this very, very well too. And then the question was, what now? Like, we've cracked informational, we've cracked complex queries. What happens next? And as Owen said, what happens next is you need a system to manage all of this. Fin does a lot of work for a lot of our customers, but things change. In business, nothing stays the same. Your product changes, your customers change, your marketing changes, your employees change, and you need to manage all of that. It's an ever-changing system. And you need to help Fin do more and more complicated queries, different things start to change. How can you get the most out of Fin, get Fin doing more and more work for the company, again, freeing people up to do lots of other stuff, and kind of future-proof any business for this kind of next decade, where things will look quite different to the life we live today. So that's what we've been building. We've been building out this system. You can see it's made up of 4 parts: analyze, train, test, and deploy. But it's not just a framework. It's not like a way of thinking. It's the product. It's actually in the product. So if you look at Fin, open up Fin today, you'll see that the product navigation is literally these 4 steps: analyze, train, test, and deploy. And the reason we've done that is to give people total control over how Fin works. So you can do all sorts of different things and configure it just for your business. I'm going to show you these things in kind of detail. I'm going to go deep and analyze today. As a side note, I think that what we're scratching at here, and this will evolve and change over time, I think this is how a lot of AI agent products will mature, not just for customer service, but if you have an AI coding agent or a different type of agent in a different industry, it's also going to become the case that you'll need to manage it, train it, test changes, deploy it in different ways, get the feedback from when customers do or don't accept things the agent suggests. I think this space is going to mature in all categories in this direction. So let's talk about analyze first. Analyze is the first step in the loop. This shows you how Fin is performing. You can kind of see it here in the dashboard. It shows you areas for improvement. And this is what I'm going to go deep on today. The second is train. This is where you improve how Fin works. You can change the policies it uses, change the guidance you can give it, tweak things, give it connections to different types of content, update content, maybe connect different types of systems like Stripe or Shopify or Salesforce, like different types of things you use, and just change how Fin works and how Fin behaves. You then, though, need to test those changes. We've learned this from our customers. It's really, really important. With generative AI products, you don't know exactly what you're going to get. Like, you can train Fin, you can change the behavior, change the guidance, but you really need to learn like what happens, what's generated. And so that's what test is all about, a full test suite. So people can deploy changes in train and then get into test and ask Fin questions in here. Does it respond in the way that you thought? Does it follow the new policy exactly as you want? So test is a really, really important part. You can batch test things, you can individually test things, you can give Fin feedback in test and just kind of go in between train and test and just really try, experiment, see what happens. So that's test. And the fourth step in the loop is deploy. This is obviously where you deploy your changes for Fin. So you can deploy across different channels. Owen mentioned we launched voice. We prior had email, messaging, chat, social, Slack is there too. So you obviously set your changes live. And then the loop completes. Once the changes are live, they'll kind of roll out at scale, and then you'll kind of learn back and analyze, okay, what actually happened. Like, I did test, I do think it works, but like, let's look at 100 responses now, or let's look at what happened when it kind of went out into the great unknown. So that's how it works. They're the kind of 4 steps. You can also deploy Fin on any help desk. You don't need Intercom to use Fin. If you use Zendesk, Salesforce, Freshworks, you can deploy Fin on any of these help desks. It works excellently with these help desks, and it's really, really easy to set up. So Fin is for everyone. Anyone can use Fin. Anyone can get started with Fin. We want everyone to use Fin, obviously, but it works with all the platforms now. So Insights is our latest product. It's in the analyze step, and Insights has 3 big areas that I'm going to show you. 1 is a performance dashboard, 2 is a topic explorer, and then 3 is the optimized dashboard. First, though, I want to kind of set the scene, like, why do we build this product? How do people measure customer experience today? Well, we use CSAT, and every time I talk to customer service leaders, we all agree that CSAT is kind of the metric we love to hate. People are nodding and laughing at me. It was fine, or was it? But things are much different now, and things could be way better. We've way better ways to measure our customer experience. We shouldn't be relying on things like CSAT anymore. It has very poor coverage for a start. Less than half of customer conversations are ever sent a CSAT survey. Very few people reply. The responses are only at the extremes, like you see here. People who are very happy say they're very happy. People who are very angry say they're very angry. But everyone in the middle says nothing. And they're the silent majority. They're actually most of your customers don't actually tell you how they feel at all. And the people who do reply, the angry people are definitely angry, but some of the happy people are angry too. Right? But they just told you they're happy because they didn't want to upset the poor person who might get in trouble. And, right, this is what we all know this. This is the world we live in. And yet, when we're reporting our performance to our company or even externally, we're using CSAT as the measure. But it's just not a good measure. Things can be way better. You can kind of see an illustration of the compounding effects of this. Less than half of people are sent a CSAT survey, and then the response rate is like 1 in 5. And 21% or 39% is 8%. And so less than 10% of your customers' experience has actually been measured, which means 90% is not. The thing is, every conversation is recorded, right? So you can't see it, but it's there. It's all there. All the data is there. And finally, we have a technology in AI that gives us access to it. AI can analyze every single conversation and every single word of every single conversation. And loads of our customers, for months now, have been asking us, please give us a window into this world. And so that's what we're going to do. That's what we've built. The first part of this is a new metric, a much better way to measure your customer experience. It is called the Customer Experience Score, very imaginative. CX Score for short. It's an AI-powered metric. It evaluates every customer conversation and every word of every conversation. So that's the CX score. It lets you see the full picture. This is our data from April. You can see here, CSAT survey, we got less than 5,000 responses, despite our best efforts. But the CX score gave us over 30,000 full conversations, not just the response, not that I'm happy or I'm sad, the full conversation. These are like, completely different data sets to work with. So it's really, really comprehensive. It's got 3 inputs. The first input is resolution status. So that is, was the issue resolved? And if people had multiple issues in one conversation, were all of the issues resolved? The second thing is customer sentiment. How did they feel? Were they happy, frustrated? You might have a resolution, the thing was solved, and a very unhappy customer, right? And that is not a good customer experience. So resolution status and customer sentiment. You can discern from people's language how they feel. And third is service quality. So what was the service quality like? Was the response clear? Was it helpful? Was it efficient? And then these three things together give you your CX score, and it's just a way better measure. It's a way more comprehensive, holistic measure of actual customer experience. Here's how it works. Every conversation gets a CX score from 1 to 5. And you can kind of see the screenshot here. At the very top of every single customer conversation, you have a CX score and a summary of why the conversation got that score. So you can see the explanation for the score, the reasoning for the score, as well as the score itself. This works for Fin, but it also works for all human conversations. So you literally have Fin and humans. Every single customer conversation gets a CX score. You might ask, hey, Paul, that sounds great in theory, but like, can I trust it and you? We have rigorously tested this. You know, Owen kind of mentioned earlier, at Intercom, we're a very proud product building company. It's our kind of heritage and our DNA. We take a lot of pride in delivering really high quality products to you. And we kind of tested this. We sat on this for a while to make sure that it is truly, rigorously, scientifically, statistically robust. And the way we did that is that we first had the best human agents that we have manually review thousands of conversations. Manually review thousands of conversations. We then had our CX score review those same conversations. And then we used a method called an F-score analysis to compare the two. Look for false positives and false negatives and look for like the kind of differences and similarities. And the CX score performed phenomenally well. It basically is very, very close to human judgment. And this is what our very, very best customer service reps. So we've tested it. We think it's really robust. Our customers who are using it believe that too. So we've really, really tried to make sure this is something that we hope the industry will adopt. Our customers love using the CX score. Here is Jared from Culture Amp, one of our great customers, saying how this has just changed how they operate, changed how they think. It's actually changed their mindset. They can see every conversation clearly now. We hope and think that CX score will replace CSAT. We think it's just a much better thing for the industry to adopt. Franca in our own team said it better than anyone else could. You can't fix what you can't see. And now with CX score, you can see. You can see everything. Okay. So CX score is a core part of the Insights product, but the Insights product is much bigger than that. It's not just the CX score. It's a set of tools for you to understand fully how your customers think, how they feel, what they say about you, your product, your brand, your company itself, and then ultimately to optimize the customer experience that you deliver to them. So first, we look at the performance dashboard. This is where you obviously monitor your overall support performance. You can see here at the top, we have CX score, obviously, on the right. But we also have resolution rate, and we have involvement rate. Resolution rate is where was the query resolved. Involvement rate was how many times did Fin actually try and answer the question. These are three things that you can kind of look at, see how they're performing, and start to, using the loop, start to understand, okay, how do I improve these things, drive up resolution rate, improve my CX score, get Fin more involved more often, free up our team to do more valuable work. You can also see how things are trending, of course, and that's the performance dashboard. But once you've got a sense of performance, like how does Fin perform, how does our human team perform, what's our full service operation performance like, the second question, of course, is what's driving the performance? What's making it go up? What's making it go down? Your customer conversations have all this insight into this question, but you can't access it. There are thousands of customer conversations a year. Some businesses have hundreds of thousands of customer conversations a year, all buried in a database, inaccessible. You could argue it's the most valuable source of customer insight in an entire company. The product team, the marketing team, the leadership team, if only they could access summaries, insights into these hundreds of thousands of conversations. What would you learn? What would you change? How could it help you grow your business? So there's two problems here. One is that the work has been too manual historically, manually tagging things, slow analysis. And the second problem is that you're working with a limited view. This manual tagging that people do today, trying to understand what people are saying about their business, it's a taxonomy you create. You decide what the tags should be, and then you get the team or use automation to filter things into those tags. But the problem with that approach is taxonomies that you create can show you the areas that you set yourself, but it also shows you what the areas that you didn't create, the tags you didn't know about. And a lot of these insights, these hundreds of thousands of conversations, they've emergent patterns in them. There are things happening in there that you can't see and could never foresee. So you'd never be able to like put a taxonomy against it or create tags for it when you actually don't even know it's there. AI can fix this. So what we've done is built a product within Insights called Topics Explorer. This is a really, really powerful thing. It uses AI to group all conversations into topics and into subtopics. It does this automatically. It does it in real time. You know, I wrote down it does it magically. It feels like magic. It just does this automatically in the background every single conversation. So you get the full range of what your customers are saying and every single word that they say. You can filter this, of course. The CX score and the Topics Explorer work together. So you can filter any topic by CX score, high CX score, low CX score. You can filter by resolution rate. You can filter it by other metrics you use too, like first response time, average handling time, and things like that. So you can filter it. It's really, really powerful. You can track trends over time here on the right. These can show you things like what's happening, anomalies that are happening, catch issues early, like a whole bunch of ways in which these trend lines will help you identify things that you couldn't see otherwise. And then you can start to drill down. So you can click a topic and investigate it by clicking into the subtopics. So for example, here's a topic, payments and transfers. Right? Let's say that's not doing well. Maybe it's got a low CX score. Maybe it's got a low resolution rate. You're trying to work out like what's going on, how can I make it better? You click it, and you get the subtopics. So these are the subtopics of payments and transfers. These are way more specific, and therefore way more actionable. We've got here scheduled payments failed, duplicate charges. Right now you got something that's actually much more specific, and you can start to think about how you might resolve the issues in here. But you still don't know the issues. So you can go further, you can drill in further. You can look at the trend lines, you can look at anomalies in the trend line, you can say things like, here is a spike in conversations at one point in time and correlated with low CX scores, and you can drill down into the subtopic and reveal the conversations that are in there. So here are all the conversations, there's 18 in this case, all the conversations in that subtopic contributing to the low CX score or the low resolution rate. And we give you an AI-generated summary at the top. So you can see the summary will tell you, here's what's happening, here's a summary of all of those 18 conversations. So that might be enough to fix the issue, but maybe you got to go again, and you can drill down one more time into the individual conversations themselves. And here's where CX score shines again, because in each individual conversation, every conversation has a CX score at the top. So you can see exactly what's going on. And you can zoom up and down through these topics and subtopics. I just drilled down 4 levels deep into one topic and one subtopic. You can drill up and down all of the topics, all of the subtopics. You might lose hours of your life, in a good way, in here. It is specific and it's actionable. As I said, I think it's going to be the best source for insights into your company. I think the customer service teams will love this. Our customers are loving it so far. I think product teams will love this. I think marketing teams will love this. And I think executives and leaders will be in here too. I think this is an amazing product for the whole company. As I said, our customers love it. Here's Clay, another great customer of ours. George here saying that the Topics Explorer helped them cut through the noise. They've increasing volume. They just can't see the wood for the trees. Topics Explorer let them like unpack what's actually happened, focus on the things that matter most, maybe the things with lowest CX score, lowest resolution rates, give them opportunities to work it out. So that was Topics Explorer. We thought that we could do one more thing, go one step further, and we asked ourselves, okay, the Topics Explorer in and of itself is an entirely new window. No one has a product like this, an entirely new window into understanding your customers, but I think we can actually suggest changes to people based on the Topics Explorer. So we've built that too. It's called the Optimized Dashboard. The Optimized Dashboard will show you gaps in content that could drive up CX score and resolution rate, gaps in data connections. Hey, there's missing data connections to different systems here. It looks at all of the times that Finn couldn't answer and hand it over to the human team, looks at what happened and gives you suggestions for things Finn could do and that will drive up CX score, drive up resolution rate. You can see the paths here. The product looks really, really nice. It's really fun to play with. You can see the path highlights the biggest issues, the biggest opportunity areas, and you can kind of drill down into them. Just below each path, you can explore different paths. Just below the paths is the list of suggestions, list of things we're suggesting that you should change. You can see here in the first column, it's got the opportunities, the biggest opportunities, organized by topic and organized by subtopic, so everything's connected together. And the second column are the suggestions, the things that it's suggesting for you to change, content, data sources, things like that. So you can see already in the screenshot, there are many, many suggestions, many ways in which you could make your customer experience way better. So when you click into the suggestions, you get a list of all of the AI-powered suggestions that can help Finn perform better, help Finn do more, edits to existing content, suggestions for new content, deleting content, changing content that's really confusing, loads and loads of AI-recommended suggestions. When you click into a suggestion, it looks like this. Here you kind of open a suggestion and you've got a simple summary. Shows you things you should edit, change, delete, add. What's amazing about this, the best piece about this, is it's a one-click accept experience. So if you look at this, you can look at the sources, you can really check this if you really want to, but if you're like, yep, that's way better, one click, accept. What that does is now Finn is going to answer that question the next time. It handed it over to the team that time and all the prior times, but it's going to handle it next time. So you can review all of these and apply suggestions in seconds. It's really, really powerful. Again, beta customers who are on this love it. Here is Isabella at Anthropic. Again, amazing customer of ours, Anthropic, one of the best AI companies in the world. Really, really cool bunch of people. Suggestions helped Anthropic increase resolution rate by 15%. That is a huge, huge jump just through going through the suggestions and accepting suggestions that the AI-powered tool made. Really, really cool. I won't go into this today. You can also optimize by CX score. I showed you how you can optimize resolution rate with suggestions. Same for CX score. Same thing, drill down, suggestions to improve CX score, you can accept it. So it's awesome. All these conversations just get better, the customer experience gets better, and you have total transparency into your whole customer service operation. Here's something, kind of a detail that I want to share because it's really, really important. You can look at a resolved conversation, and as I mentioned earlier, a resolved conversation can have a low CX score. And we'd agree, hey, resolved, low CX score, unhappy customer, that is not a good thing. That is not a good customer experience. So if Finn resolves a conversation, and you dig in and find that the CX score was low or there was some issue, if you follow up with that customer, we will not charge you for the resolution. We're not going to charge you. Even though it was resolved, we're not going to charge you. And the reason is because we believe we're in this together. We're trying to do the same thing. We're trying to create amazing experiences for our customers. We're in this together. We're partners in this. It's a new world. And we want our incentives to be aligned. So we're only going to charge you if we both agree this is a great, great customer outcome. Everything you've just seen is live. It's in the product now. Don't check it yet. Got more cool stuff. It's all live. It's available for all Finn customers today. As Owen said at the start, Finn is objectively the #1 AI agent for customer service. It's objectively the #1. Our performance benchmarks, head-to-head, our customers benchmarking against other competing products. It's voted by you as #1 in G2. And it's got, as you can see today, the deepest feature set. The deepest feature set. And we're putting these features into the hands of as many people as possible. We don't believe that you should have to call up a company, get an engineer on the phone to change some part of your thing. We believe you should have full control. You should get into our product, get into Finn, train, test, experiment, learn. That is the world. And everyone should have access to those tools. Everybody, everyone in the company should have access to those tools. And we guarantee you that. We guarantee you that Finn is #1. We guarantee you that. And so the last thing I want to tell you about is the Finn guarantee. So if you're a new customer to Finn, you can try Finn for 90 days, completely risk-free, 90 days. If you love it, great. If you don't love it, we'll give you your money back, refund you. No questions asked. Whatever you spent, we'll just give it back to you because it's the best. And I think you'll see it's the best when you try it. So to recap, covered a lot of ground here. we're into phase 3 of AI agents for customer service. This idea of continuous improvement, this loop, analyze, train, test, deploy. That's the level of maturity the product's got to. It's exciting. We can do a lot of work in each of those 4 categories, make the thing way, 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 way better. So we're in this stage. Today we launched the CX score. We believe it's a much better way to measure customer experience. It's a much stronger, more robust, full coverage. It's just way, way better. CSAT doesn't even compare. These things are not on the same planet. It's way better. And we want people to use it because we think you'll deliver an amazing customer experience if you do. We have a performance dashboard where you can look at CX score, resolution rate, and involvement rate all together. We have a new topics explorer where you can look at what your customers are saying, full coverage of your entire customer base, entire customer conversation history, a really powerful tool. You can drill up, drill down, filter by CX score, filter by resolution rate. And then we have an optimized dashboard. It's one thing to do the analysis. It's another thing to actually deploy the changes. That's onerous. We don't want it to be onerous. So we have AI-powered suggestions that you can just click accept. One click accept, and you're done. And in totality, what this means is that we have built, and you will have, a self-improving system. Imagine if you have this in your hands. Finn can't answer a question. Let's say Finn today does 56% resolution rate out of the box. Our customers of ours have about 60, 70, 80. We have people in the 80s, huge resolution rates. But Finn can't answer everything. When it doesn't answer, we're going to show you that. We're going to surface it in topics. We're going to give you suggestions. You one-click accept suggestions. Now Finn can answer, and you go again into another topic, into another topic, into another topic. And over time, days and weeks, you will dramatically improve your customer experience. Your CX score will go way up. Your resolution rate will go way up. And ultimately, your customer experience will just get way, way better than it is today. We're doing this with our customers. We're doing it in partnership with our customers. If you're a customer of ours today, thank you, and please give us feedback. We have lots of our product team here today, and they all want you to give them feature requests. If you're not a customer today, by the way, if people in the stream, you give us feature requests too. Pop them in the comments. We're listening. And if you're not a customer, talk to us about it. We have the Finn guarantee, so we think it's risk-free for you. As I said, we've got Culture Amp, Clay, and Anthropic. Great quotes from them today. We've got Consensys and Lovable here too. 2 amazing companies also building really cool things. We're going to hear from them in a panel later. And to learn more, we have a brand new website for Finn. You can check it out here, fin.ai. We'd love you to. Again, not right now. Wait till after the next couple of talks. But thank you so much. All right. Next up, we have Des.
Good evening and good whatever it is for people on the stream. I'm Des, and I'm going to talk about this agentic era we're all heading into. So I'm going to open with just a quote from the CEO of DeepMind, Demis, who said, "Agents will be the most transformative technology since perhaps electricity." And I think that's both crazy and directionally correct. And I think it is this world we're headed for. And within the crowd here, we have folks from leading CS teams, we have folks who are leading product teams, we have folks who are leading startups. And hopefully, as we talk through this, there'll be something in it for each of you. Demis is not the only person to have a crazy, wide-eyed hype quote. In fact, everyone who's anyone in tech has something batshit to say about how agents are going to happen to us all. And there is no shortage of them, including even me. I'm going to say something which is, can we just chill with the hype speak and actually say something practical about what's actually happening? And what's happening is, we're in this adapt or die moment. This AI agent era is happening now. It's not if it's happening, it is happening. It's not when is it happening, it's happening now. You can, in the words of Thanos, you can dread it, you can run from it, but agents are coming all the same. And a while ago, internally, I gave a talk where I was saying, some of our team respond to optimism and positivity and think of how great it could be, and other folks respond to fear and drama and think of how bad it could get. And I've got something for both of them, right? If you nail this transition, you'll be a category leader, you'll shoot to millions of revenue or hundreds of millions of revenue, you'll be on the front page of Forbes, you'll raise every round you ever want. So that's all the good news. The great part is you don't have a choice, because if you fail, you die. And that's genuinely what we're headed towards here. So practically speaking, we're sitting here, or I'm standing, on May 21st. What should we actually be doing? And the answer is we should be learning about what agents are, what they do, what they can be, and how you should adopt them. if we're thinking about building them, or if our company's thinking about transitioning to this agentic era, how do you do about it? How do you do it? You have to learn, all of you have to learn like how to evaluate an agent, how to understand if it's any good. Is it trying to do too much? Is it doing too little so it's not worth adopting? And ultimately what we'll be doing a lot over the next few years is like learning how to build agents, buy agents, use agents, control agents, etc. And that's really what we'll cover. So this is the sort of 5 sections I'll go through. And we'll start with like, for any agent, whether you're buying it or building it, how ambitious should you be? Like, what's the most you think you can do? You can simply look for an agent that helps somebody do their job, and that's an augmentation play. We've seen things like this in the form of a co-pilot, right? You can say, hey, let's try and tackle a workflow entirely, but just one workflow. There's lots of workflows out there. We'll just do one of them. Or you can say, let's try and displace an entire team. Now, obviously, the job here is small. It's probably low risk, but probably low reward. And over and high and to the right is extremely difficult to do, but if you do it, you could be valued at 9 billion, 15 billion. The numbers just seem to like lose all meaning at this point, but the values there are insane, right? But it's not that easy, right? The hard part is to work out what's the right size agent. You know, do you want to buy the thing that just helps you do a bit of code, or do you want to buy the thing that builds an app entirely for you, right? There's a sort of sense of what is the right amount of thing to bite off. So let's just take a simple agent. Let's say something that's going to help you run your meetings. There are steps in running meetings, right? You schedule it, you share it, you meet, you record, you transcribe, and you distribute the tasks, and then you check in again, right? You could imagine one agent saying, I'm going to do all this for you. Great. Or you could imagine an agent saying, I'm going to do a subset. And there's a lot you have to think about here. For starters, whose toes are you stepping on? There are already plenty of products out there that do all of this. And you have to work out which of these do I integrate with, and which of these am I going to bulldoze my way over? Or if you're buying an agent, which of these do I have to throw away? You know, if you say, oh, and we're also going to be where you do the communication, I'm like, okay, does that mean I'm canceling Slack? Like, that's going to be difficult. So it's not as simple as saying, let's do everything, because it makes it a very complicated play. And then separately, it's worth saying, all these tools are fighting with each other anyway, right? Everyone is trying to do a bit more. There is this, AI is this idea of a convergent force. It's strategically aggressive. It wants to do more and more stuff in any workflow. It always thinks, because previously, the reason these tools are separate is because they need different UI, different users, different price points. AI doesn't give a shit. AI is just like, I'll do it all. I'm brilliant. I'm genius. But convergence can work against you too. You can converge too much if you like. We've all done that, right? Like, here's a quote from Tim Cook, of all people, who said, like, you can converge a toaster and a refrigerator because they're both kitchen appliances, but the end result will be a bit weird. And there's obviously something, by the way, about toasters in Apple, because Steve Jobs had previously said convergence means your television is going to make you toast because they're both domestic appliances. And again, you get this sort of weird shit, right? But the real question you have to ask, whether you're building or buying an agent, is where do you draw the line? How much product is too much? How much is too little? There's a Goldilocks type problem here for you, right? The general guidance I would say is, if you're bumping into a totally different buyer or owner of the product internally, that's usually a good sign you should draw the line. Otherwise, you now have to teach the head of sales and the head of support and the head of marketing all to buy your product. That's 3 different brands, that's 3 different price points, 3 different everything. Really complicated. Different levels of data access, integrations. If you've got a different brand required, like, you know, the thing that's cool with salespeople might not be cool with product nerds or whatever. And then generally, if you're just bumping into a really popular product that everyone in your company already loves, and you're going to be like, buy this new thing and rip out your favorite thing, it's not going to work. People like certain tools. They're like, most people like Slack and tools like that, or at least they used to. So the next thing you have to work out is, if you are saying, right, we're going to do this general job, you have to understand, this is where most companies go wrong. They don't actually understand the job that they're replacing. They think they do. They think they've got they have the sort of aesthetic sense of what it roughly looks like. But if you don't understand a job, you can't do it, right? One of my favorite quotes by Mark Twain is the whole, it ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that's not true. And I think that's a thing where I see most software companies fail, is that they think they can perfectly replicate something, and they can, but it's not a thing that actually happens in the real world. So if you don't fully understand it, you have to research and solve that problem first. We see this all the time in CS, right? A classic thing whenever I play with somebody else's effort at a CS agent, or somebody who's like, oh, I could have built that in a weekend. They say they write a product that assumes that customer support looks like this. I would like to reset my password, please. Or my order, and I'm going to helpfully include the order number, it was placed over, I'm going to include the time frame, right? This is like the fantasy of CS, right? Like, and 'cause you look at this and you're like, sure, I can analyze all that and do all the right stuff. That's not a problem. The reality of CS, as you all well know, and we live all the time, is much more like this. This is broken, sup? Or like, I was talking to Dave earlier, can you get Dave? You know, like this is the stuff that you actually deal with. So agentify this, right? This is an easy problem. It's just not a real one, right? This is the actual problem. And similarly, people say, oh, well, that's okay. We're just going to ingest all the support policy documents. That's easy. I'm like, cool. Have you seen support policy documents? Well, I imagine that they look like this. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. That's really convenient. They have a really nice Notion page that outlines their entire support policy document. If you actually work with CS teams, what you get is something more like this. Ask Dave. Dave knows, right? Like, that's the reality of like what you're dealing with here. But the real world is really messy, and that's where your agent has to succeed, right? So what does a CS job actually look like? What are you trying to agentify? Well, it's actually complicated. It's you chat back and forth until you get a question that is some way answerable. You find the abstract version of the question. You offer sympathy or empathy where it makes sense. Then you do investigation, you troubleshoot. Then you summarize at the end, you escalate if you need to. These are all the different skills you have, which is why when people ask, like, what are the internals of Fin? It's like, you know, and this is the whole thing that kills me about this thin wrapper thing of like, oh, you just ping it all to OpenAI and it does everything. Wrong. Like, the actual internals are really, really complicated. This is like a marketing prepared simplification that's probably 8 times too simple. But there's so much to be done to replicate the actual talent that a human support rep has to actually navigate a difficult conversation. Until you understand this, you build really simple things, and again, you have a beautifully simple product for a problem that does not exist. And that is just a challenge where so many of these things fail. The other thing you have to understand is, like AI, like this generation of AI is obviously new, and it's obviously brilliant, but automation is not new, right? Automation has been around, especially in customer support, forever. So you have to understand, why did the previous stuff fail, right? History is a cheap and forgiving teacher. You can look back and be like, why was the first generation of chatbots so awful, right? And you can learn from that and work out, well, how do we make it better from there, okay? Almost everything you're going to try and automate, no matter what domain you try and go into, sales, marketing, support, B2C, consumer, prosumer, someone's tried to do it before, and they tried to do it with the shitter eras of AI, and they failed. And you have to understand why, because you don't want to be just like, well, generative AI is going to help, because you'll just fail with sparkles attached. You know, it's not the same thing. Previous AI CS, AI customer service, failed because of the burden of training. You had to do all this derpy, yes, that's an example, no, that's an example, yes, all that sort of stuff was overhead that people weren't willing to do. It was difficult to maintain the rule sets. I'll show you an example. The data is incredibly unstructured, and that's a mess as well. And then like also the searching capabilities, what we call RAG, retrieval augmented generation, were actually pretty limited in that era. But just to cast your mind back, the previous bots were so annoying. Like, you couldn't change your mind. So if you said, oh, I want a pump of vanilla, I changed my mind. Oh, don't understand, start over. That was the normal experience. And the geniuses of the day relied on like all this crazy conversational mapping analysis. And like, that was like literally how you had to like manage and sort of be like, right, now I think I can handle a customer changing their mind. In reality, humans deal with this all the time. The other thing we saw a lot of was like these like sort of smart replies where you'd be like, hey, I just got scammed. Great! You know, because it turns out it's actually tricky to work out what's the right thing to say all the time. And then you have other things like hi. It's like, I don't understand. Hi, you should say hello. And you're like, hi is the same thing as hello, but okay. You know, but this is like this is why the previous generation failed. But it's also a good reminder like that, like these things are like pretty important to get right. So you have to think when you're trying to shrink and then trying to perfect, you have to start with something small that definitely works, but you have to like think about that a lot and really scope it down. So a thing people talk about a lot is how agentic it can be, which basically means how much can it act independently, how much like freedom do you give it. Businesses like the idea of agentic because it's like it can handle everything, but they also love predictability, as in I know what it's going to do. And you have this very obvious trade-off. The way this plays out in customer service is you have flowcharts, which are super predictable, but they're annoying as hell to manage. And you've got like agents that might go rogue. Can I have a refund? Why not, right? Ideally, what you want is something that combines the best of both. You want the predictability, but you also want the agentic capabilities. And that's what we've been shooting for with Fin Tasks. But it's just a quick reminder that like being fully agentic is not actually what people want. They want an agent they can control to some degree. We actually talk about this a lot. In fact, we published a really nice research paper on this we have an AI research blog, by the way. It's at fin.ai/research. where we actually talk about the trade-off between agency, how much freedom do you give, control, how much can you guardrail it and make sure it does only things you want it to do, and then reliability, how much will it reliably do the things you ask it to do. It's not easy. The temptation is always to be like, I want all of these things, but every one of them bumps into every other one of them. I do want to say, I'd nearly sell you off the idea of agents if I kept going on like this, right? I just want to point out one little thing that's slightly uncomfortable. There's a different type of agent that is also can be unreliable, hard to control, and perhaps low agency. Humans, right? Humans can be pretty low agency, where they don't do anything unless you tell them to do it. Humans can be extremely unreliable, right? We all have these teammates who one day they're a genius and the following day they just don't give a shit, right? And we have to deal with both versions. And humans can be extremely uncontrollable, even if they are good, right? Like Maverick from Top Gun or whatever, right? Like you know it's going to be good when it shows up. And like this is the challenge that we wrestle with. It's worth saying reliability in general is actually a new thing that we have to wrestle with, right? Like in our old world, if you're building like project management software, you'd be like, well, if you click the add project button, 7 times out of 10 it's going to add a project. No, that made no sense. Everything just worked before. Reliability is an actual thing. So if we take in this era of AI, reliability really matters because unreliability kind of compounds. So if you take something like, this is a simple expense tracking agent, right? It's going to detect the expense, scan the receipt, find the categories, allocate, blah, 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 right? And then, hey, the detecting expense, that's 99% reliable. That's got to be good enough, right? Sounds good enough. But the challenge is, if you try to be the everything agent that just kind of nails the entire workflow from like A to Z or soup to nuts or whatever metaphor you want, the challenge is that irreliability, or whatever the word is, compounds. And this flow is actually, if you just multiply out the probabilities, it's only 85% reliable. Now, that might sound fine, but what if you're trying to do this 1,000 times a day? Who wants to deal with 150 misfiled expenses every day? That's not very agentic and useful. So you really have to scope these problems down to make sure you can execute them really well. This is so much of what we spend. That's not very agentic and useful. So you really have to scope these problems down to make sure you can execute them really well. This is so much of what we spend our time thinking about. The quality of the product is so important. You're replacing humans. It is not easy, right? It's extremely hard to get this stuff right. There's a huge multi-year, multi-million-dollar difference between something that kind of works and something that always works. It's a big, big thing. And when you're buying agents, this is what you have to test for. Yeah. Like the thin wrapper crowd, the people who think that they can build one of your products in a weekend crowd, they're only thinking about how quick is it to demo a version that works once so you can record a quick screencast and try and raise some money or whatever. That's a very easy problem. Try putting 1 million conversations or 1 million expenses or 1 million projects through it. That's a very hard problem. And so you see, you can make a lot of progress very quickly, but to actually get to general availability could take a long time, possibly never, just depending on how you've scoped your problem. And this idea of good enough is something people have to think about a lot. Like, everyone loves to dream big until they see the price tag, what it takes to actually build these things. It's extremely, extremely difficult. And I would say, like, a thing I see a lot of companies try and do is scope down they'll sort of say, hey, because it's pretty hard to get this really reliable, I'm just going to make it a little bit of a nice-to-have optional side tool. That's a bit of a sleight of hand, but it doesn't work because ultimately, if your product can't be trusted, it's just not useful, full stop. It's just like if you can't trust the output from it, people just don't use it. It's as simple as that. So really, there's a point here about scoping your product to do something that's really valuable, really reliably, or at least to match the reliability of what's currently out there. Otherwise, you will not succeed. And then similarly, if you're out there buying agents, whether it's whatever your business function you represent is, coding agents, design agents, you name it, just make sure that you pay attention a lot to this, right? Can you actually rely on this thing? So there's another choice you have to make, which is just about agent architecture. And generally, like, for all we say, an agent's just really 3 things. It's like a model, it's a set of tools, and it's a set of instructions. The model is like your underlying LLM. Your instructions are, what are you actually saying to it? Like, you are a customer support agent, or you are a visual designer, or you're an engineer. And then the tools is what permission or what freedom are you giving it? Can it write in Slack? Can it ship code? Can it create designs? Can it publish? You have to give it as much freedom as it needs to do the job, but not so much that you actually strangle it or make it really dangerous to adopt. So your trade-offs when you're picking how you're going to build these things is all about what underlying model do you want to have? Is it going to be the fast one or the very, very accurate one? What's your trade-off between cost, speed, reliability? You have to make smart choices there. Your instruction set, how specific can you be to drive the reliability high while still serving the requirements of all of your target market, right? If you get too specific, you'll get a great agent for a very specific vertical or something like that. You have to really make sure that you're actually serving your market. And then lastly, it's tempting to say, give it access to everything, but the challenge there is adoption is a nightmare, and also the agent can kind of get confused. It's usually at that point of confusion that you'll move from like a single agent model where you've basically just got like an agent who might have like MCP and prompts and all sorts of stuff and to produce an output, like it's just kind of a linear in-out type thing, to like a multi-agent model where you might say have something like a manager who's kind of in charge of working out what we have to do and farms out tasks to various different sub-agents. These are all valid approaches. Obviously, this one's simple, easy to test, easy to play with. This one's slightly harder. But you have to understand the complexity of what it is you're trying to do to architect your product the right way. And similarly, when you're buying, you have to make sure that the underlying sort of models aren't appallingly simplistic, but have enough power to actually replicate what you're trying to do. The last piece I'll finish on is just launching. So again, whether you're launching something you built yourself or whether you're launching one you bought, launch is just the beginning in AI. That's like the biggest change. You'll realize, fine, it might work. You know, the new version of works on my machine is like it worked on my evaluation, right? Like meaning like you've perfected this thing that works on a load of test data, but when you put it into wild, it absolutely bombs, right? Reality bats last. So like the only thing that actually matters is when this is live, what actually happened. I used to say like the good PMs, like a good PM obsesses about shipping, a great one obsesses about the product being used, and the best ones obsess about impact, they obsess about ongoing engagement. In this era of AI, there's an extra concern that's way more important, which is, does the thing actually work? You have to actually know, does it actually work? Is Finn actually answering questions? Is Lovable actually shipping apps? You know, you have to care about these things a lot. And one of the things we've been building, this is the thinking that Paul walked through earlier, is this idea of an optimization engine. People need to know, what is the agent doing for me? Can I get it to do more? And how do we get it to be better, right? How do we get it to do it better? And this is the same challenge you have if you manage somebody, by the way. It's like, what are you doing? Can you do more? Can you do better? You know, this is like, so there is still a category of software that we have to build, which is everything around the agent. This is the analyze, train, test, deploy loop. So for us, it was about an optimization engine, which forced us to answer questions like, well, who actually owns the agent when we go live? That's a really important question. In all of your companies, who owns it? Like if you've bought one of like Cursor, Devon, Lovable, etc., who in your company owns that and makes sure it's doing good work, right? What metrics make sense for the product? How do you know it's doing good work? What does the organization look like once all the work is now getting done by AI? And how do you explain all of this? So, who owns the agent? Ultimately, you need to help your customers solve this problem. These are all different job titles that we've seen of the Finn owner in a company. As you can see, you know, there's a lot of variation here, but we need to actually craft the idea of what is an AI support leader and who is an AI operations leader and what do they own. And what are the new metrics when your product is being deployed? So first response time makes no sense when it's 0 seconds, right? Because the agent doesn't even type, right? Average handling time makes no sense. Rep productivity doesn't make sense. So all the old metrics kind of fade away. And you have to create the new metrics. And that's where, for example, that's the thinking behind the CX score. But also you care about resolution rate and involvement rate and all this other stuff. So you have to actually think about the metrics that the business is managed to. What's the organizational impact? So if the old way of staffing a support team was like different teams, different leads, split by country, split by time zone, split by language, split by all of these things, all of that goes away. So what does the org look like after all of that? And maybe it's like that there's now a support specialist who mostly deal with escalations, but you do need people who now own the agent and who are actually responsible for tuning the agent, getting a great outcome from the agent. When you're launching a new product like we do today, who's out there tuning the agent so it can answer all the questions? And then lastly, how do you explain all this shit, right? Like this is not an easy thing to do. Like it's you move to this new world, but it's not like a single on button and you're done. You actually have to put a lot of work into teaching your customers, teaching your own orgs. What does this transformation look like, right? And we've done so much of this, and we'll be continuing to do so much more. Arguably, me being on stage right now is actually just a part of it. So I'll wrap up on this. If you're out there building an agent, I would say be as ambitious as you can, but no more, right? If the thing doesn't work, throw it in the bin. There's no points for an unreliable product. Respect the job. Make sure that what you're doing is definitely valuable, but also definitely doable. Don't chase shadows or chase a mirage of an AI agent. You have to also build workflows around the agent, internally or in your own product. Or you have to make sure there's a way to make it better and make it work. And you have to also explain that transformation to everyone around you, including your customers if you're selling to them. if you're buying or evaluating, look for credible deployments at scale. Like anyone can get a sexy screencast. That's the easy bit. The question is, can this thing work in the wild with like millions of incidents thrown through it? Compare the agent with reality, by the way. Don't compare it with perfection. Reality is what's currently happening. Can you outperform that? That's the thing you're competing with. You're not competing with some notional God agent, right? You're competing with like a normal human doing the job, and that's your actual frame of comparison. Build the workflows around you. Understand the organizational transformation that you have to go through. So if you are going to adopt one of these products, make sure you know what has to happen internally for it to be a success. And lastly, just make sure that you can maintain your agent over time as well. I'll just wrap by saying two things. This is probably the most exciting and scariest time in software. It's certainly in my career. I think we're kind of on the precipice of crazy, wonderful times. There's a lot going on, but within your companies and then in terms of what's happening to every software business, every software product that's out there, they all are going to go through an agentification. Sorry for all the words. And I hope this talk has been in some way useful in sort of informing your path as you get there. And with that, I'll finish and I'll hand over to Rati, who's going to lead a panel with Consensys and Lovable. Thank you very much.
Hi everybody, Jordan. My name is Rati. I'm the Director of Product in our AI group, and today I'll be leading a panel with Yair and Nad from Lovable and Consensys. After the panel, we're also going to have a Q&A, so we're going to give a chance for everyone in this room as well as those online to ask us some questions as well on the panel. To give a bit of an introduction, Nad Chishtie is the founding designer at Lovable. Lovable is the fastest growing startup in Europe, and they're building a personal AI agent that helps everyone build an app that they want. Nad has worked in the tech space for over 20 years. He's worked in different roles in product, engineering, and design. And so today he's going to talk us through how AI has transformed their team and the product that they're building, what they're thinking about top of mind. And then Yair Gal has worked in the space of operations and transformations for over 20, 30 years or so, for many years and decades. And he's been leading the charge on the AI transformation at Consensys. Consensys is a leading Web3 platform that builds solutions for developers and end users. So I'm going to ask them both to join me as we talk about what we've launched today. They've been early users of our AI Insights product, and we're going to talk a little bit about how AI has been transforming their teams, how they work, and the product they're building. So please welcome Nad and Yair. So Nad, Yair, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
I thought we would start something that's quite timely. Both of your teams were quite involved in the early birth, I would say, of Insights. You were there in the alpha stage helping us shape the product. I'd love to hear of real examples and tangible examples of how they've helped your teams. I'll start with you, Yair.
Yeah, so it really fitted with what we felt like we needed. So our team is really excited about it. From my perspective, it gives me the high-level view of how we're doing, helps me ask the difficult questions at the level that I'm kind of looking at day to day. But then it has much more detailed, easy to drill down, operational things that are helping our teams basically answer the question, okay, is this working? If so, what next? Where do we add new content, because there are content gaps, where we introduce further automations because we can see that we can use that, and it really helps us drive this from an operational perspective.
Yeah, Nat, I'd love to hear from your team's perspective as well.
Yeah, I think actually what really surprised us is how useful the Topics Explorer is. So with the Topics Explorer, it feels like we can get qualitative level insights at quantitative scale, pretty much. And there's something that feels quite subtle, and we didn't really realize it until we used it for a while, where I think because you get this bird's eye view and it resolves to real conversations with real people, it actually completely de-anonymizes your view on your users and your customers. And so even though we get similar signal from doing user research sessions, product analytics, and so on and so forth, it just feels, in some ways, extremely honest, and it enables us to be way more user-centric. And so it's one of our major heartbeats, I'd say, in terms of how we keep in touch with our users and make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and when we think about what we've talked about today, at least for me, what comes top of mind is how, and it's probably a word that you hear a lot in the industry, how transformative AI is, but also quite messy it is. both in your teams as well as the product building. It's changed quite a lot. And I'm curious to hear, how has AI, the transformation of AI, for example, at Consensys, how has that been for you?
So we needed to really change into this AI-first mindset. It's not an afterthought when it's a big part of what we do already, right? We are able to deflect a very high percentage of customers' issues already. So we need to keep that in front of mind to make sure that we continue and improve that. So for example, we launch a new product, a new feature, a new service. How does that fit with your overall AI strategy? Not let's do everything else that we do in order to get ready for it and kind of figure out how AI fits later. If you depend on it to serve your customers, you've got to really be focused on it with everything that we do.
Yeah, and when you were leading this charge and with your team in the past 3 years, was there anything surprising in the transformation? Any new roles created? How's your teams been working?
So it's a really interesting thing that you see teams going in two different directions. The first one is a whole bunch of people that are now focused on AI. Most of your best ideas about what to automate and how to automate are coming from people who are first line with customers, and they're saying, hey, I'm getting this repetitive thing. Why am I getting it? Can I actually have someone else do it automatically so I don't get this anymore, right? So a lot of AI focus, whether it's quality, whether it's writing content, whether it's modifying and testing the AI agent. So all of those are kind of new to us. And then this caused a whole bunch of high volume, low complexity issues to go away, right? And that leaves our human team with more time. They can go deeper on the product, so we have a lot more subject matter experts now because they can become better at the product. We have people that deal with the more delicate and sensitive stuff, and they have more time to do that because the high volume stuff is taken care of.
Yeah, and I'm curious from your perspective, Nad, your teams have started almost at the pioneering edge of AI, and what have you seen being, I guess, transformative in the way that you're building, and what's top of mind for you and your team?
So I think it's, I mean, it was kind of said earlier, like Des mentioned at the end, that it's one of the most exciting times to build, I think, in general. But I think it's also one of the noisiest times. And so talking to users is noisy. The models are changing all the time, what you can do with it, et cetera. There's just so much. And the challenge for us has been just how do we find the signal? And what we kind of obsess about the most is we have two sort of problems that we try to solve. One of them is the accuracy of our AI. So our system is roughly 80% accurate in that you get what you want roughly 80% of the time. And we want to make that 80% number 100%. And we know how to do that. It's a bunch of applied AI engineering, a bunch of user experience work, also educating the market, frankly. Like, we could be too early for some things, and we need to, take people along on their own transformation journey as well. So we think a lot about this 80% number and how do we make it 100%. And then secondly, for us, we also think about, with Lovable, we give people superpowers that they never thought they'd have before. And so actually we take people on a personal transformation journey when they go from, I never thought that I'd be able to build an app by myself, to now I can. And so we think about this concept of flow, of how am I going on this transformation journey and how do I maintain my flow when I do that? And in that world, it's less so about how to make the simplest product possible with the least amount of friction, but it's how do you make the most empowering product that takes you on an education journey and a transformation journey. And so we think about this AI accuracy and how do we promote flow as our two major kind of North Stars.
And I'm curious within teams. So for example, Yair was talking about the changes that have happened, new roles coming up in the team. I'm curious, have you noticed a change within the type of people that you're bringing in your team? I'm curious if there's anything that you've observed there. Yeah,
so one thing that we did since day one, which at the time was a bit more contrarian, but I think it's more normal now. We hire a lot of generalists. And so I think specialists are great. And if you ask everyone in the team, what do you want to be truly world-class at, one of the best people out in the world at, doing this thing, everyone knows what this one thing is. But at the same time, specialisms can also inhibit you. People use specialisms as a way to, put a box around themselves and say, well, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to almost have tunnel vision. And so we look for generalists who now, with AI, can effectively be teams of, one person, but they also know where they're going to go deep as a specialist. That's probably the major thing.
Yeah, and I'm curious, hearing the generalist side of what you're looking for at Consensys. Do you see that tension of generalist versus specialist with the change roles that you've seen?
It's a difficult one to answer, and I guess there are a lot of specialists that we didn't need before for working with AI and AI optimization. It's a job description that I've never written before. And I think it gives some fantastic opportunity for many of our internal talents. They're so excited at getting involved with AI work. And so I think it's a whole new industry of skills and lots of interest from people to get into that field. So exciting times.
Yeah. And one thing, before I move on to sort of start to think of looking ahead, I'm curious, thinking about the transformation you've gone and led in the past 3 years at Consensys, is there something with what you know now today that you would have recommended to your team and yourself to skip ahead? And so, something small could be, for example, today we've launched the CX metric and some folks might be using CSAT. Do you say just jump ahead to the future versus gradual? I'm curious if there's anything that pops up there for you.
So I think anyone jumping on the AI bandwagon now is in a much better, easier state than trying to do it 12 months ago. I think some of the stuff that you showed here on stage was just not around, so I think it's much easier to get going. I keep telling our team to move fast but not stupid, right? And I think in the previous presentation they talked about being ambitious and being bold, and I think you need to kind of set your limits based on the risk to you. And I think that find where you have a relatively low risk and high value. We all like low-hanging fruit, right? Easy wins. So find what that is for you. Go at it full blast so you see the result, and then based on what you see being achieved, then that can be done with a very short time scale in AI. It's not an ERP rollout that takes you 3 years. You either decide it's fantastic and you double up, or you just adjust the way you work because you're not getting where you want to go.
I'm curious, Nad, if there have been any observations looking through, you joined from zero to where Lovable is now. What would you change in your team almost working with AI? Anything that you would change in those roles?
I think, so internally we put a very high emphasis on clock speed. And so we challenge ourselves on this dimension of like, what's our individual clock speed and what's our team's clock speed? And how do we like constantly improve this? And it's almost like this algorithm that we're just running individually and as a team of like, how do we increase this clock speed? And so I think that's actually served us really, really well. And weirdly enough, when we've tried to be too visionary, when we've tried to sort of have this like grand vision of, here's what we think the world will be like in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, whatever, and then let's work backwards from it, we've had suboptimal results. And I would even extend this to when we've listened too much to the frontier model providers, where they've basically said like, oh, like AI is going this way, these things are on the horizon, so therefore you should be ready for them. For sure, we should be ready for them. But every single time that we've completely reduced our iteration cycles, done the smallest thing possible first, and learned, shipped something really small and then learned incrementally, we've come out really, really well. And so we had a couple of adventures, I'd say, where we almost tried to be too visionary. We had this future vision for things that would have been multi-years out, where with a time machine, I'd have probably just scratched that out.
Yeah. It's funny saying learning to not look more than 2 years ahead, but I'm going to ask you about looking 2 years ahead, 2 to 5 years ahead. I'm curious, when you look ahead in the context of AI and customer experience, what are you hoping to see in the next 5 years in the context, for example, of Lovable, and thinking about your product, the customer that you're serving, and the experience there?
Yeah, so I think two things are true with AI. So the first thing that's true is the models are getting faster and cheaper. And so if you pressure test that, you basically get to a point where artificial intelligence will be 100% real time. And so on the one hand, we have to be prepared for this 100% real-time intelligence and figure out what that means. And we're going to have to build entire products and services around this. Separately, agentic AI is getting way better at reasoning and getting way more powerful. But the problem is, in all of the research we've done, people get really frustrated when agents go off track. And so if you deploy an agent to do something, or you have an army of agents doing things, if it spends anywhere from minutes to hours to days on it, and it comes back with a subpar result, people are really frustrated. And so I think we're going to have to think about this kind of AI synchronicity problem, and we're going to have to build entire surfaces or entire products around them being 100% synchronous and 100% real-time versus asynchronous. And on the asynchronous side, I think we've got a bunch of observability challenges where you want to get enough of an idea of what the agents are thinking and how they're going, but not so much that you're also stuck in the weeds. And what's not clear to me is, do we need to build entire products around this? Or do we need to build different surfaces within the same product? And so we think about that a lot. And I think that's going to be a true problem for most products building with AI moving forward.
Yeah, putting you on the spot, what's your hunch?
Multimodal. So I think the right products will have a very low barrier to entry. That mean that you can always get going very easily with something that is very synchronous. And I think that'll feed into an asynchronous system. And I think maybe a good metaphor is like communication in general. If you think about the different ways that you can communicate with somebody, there's everybody from a phone call through to snail mail, and you have different social expectations every single time. But because your expectations are met kind of appropriately on all these different mediums, that's okay. You can still solve the problem of communicating with that individual. And so I think we basically have this same communication challenge, but with AI. And so I think the winning products, the winning platforms, will enable you to be hyper-productive in the order of seconds and hyper-productive in the order of weeks as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. What about you, Yair? What do you think about the future of AI in customer service? If you think 5 years from now,
5 years from now.
I know. What do you hope
I work
for?
in crypto and I work with AI. 5 years from now, I'll settle for 5 months. So first of all, a lot of it is about optimization. We know what works well, and we need to go full in to get the full benefit in it. A lot of the work that we do is around creating something which gives great answers to customers and in a safe way. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done to do that. What should be answered, what actually should just be routed to a human, or whatever other kind of safeguards you need to put in place. We put a lot of effort into that. We have it. We want to make it a lot more available to a lot more customers in many different ways, right? So the traditional, hey, I need help, click here to contact support, hi, I'm Finn, that's one way. What about using the same engine, the same brain, in-app, context-sensitive, we introduced a new feature, a customer clicks on this feature, there's a pop-up of, hey, I can help you with any question that you have about this topic, trained specifically for that stuff. So it's kind of getting more value for your investment, and we're investing now, but pushing it into more channels, making it more accessible for more customers will just be fantastic for us.
Yeah, great. Thank you both so much for your time today. This was a great discussion. We're going to move on now to the QA section of this, and I'm going to invite Des and Paul over to the stage. All right. I hope everyone's pulling in their questions. For those in the room, you can raise your hand when you have a question, and then online, we're gathering your questions too. I'll start with the first one for Nad from Jeff on LinkedIn. With Lovable, you're building one of the most cutting-edge AI products. What are your users' expectations of customer service? Do they expect AI first everywhere?
I think the short answer is no. I think when you've got something as powerful as AI, it's like what's the phrase? Like when you've got a hammer, everything looks like a nail. What our users want, I believe, is their problems to be solved. And in our specific case, sometimes the solution is AI-powered instant first-line support. Other times it's talking to a human. Other times it's community. Other times it's education. And there's this entire spectrum of everything you go from I have an idea for an app that I want to build through to I'm successful. And so for sure, we use AI to power that first line of response, but we don't expect it to solve everything. And I think that's correct.
Yeah, thanks. Yair, Nad, we've got Milan on LinkedIn. I'm curious to know what were the successful resolution rates when you launched it, and it is now, and how much time you needed to reach that level. So I'll start with you, Yair.
So it's relatively quick to get value. And with AI, garbage in, garbage out. So if you have very mature knowledge base, you can feed it really great content, you will get that value much quicker. We have great content, so within a couple of weeks, we were at about the 50% deflection. I'm sure Intercom has some fancy graphs about adoption and how that affects deflection rates, but we got to 50% mark very quickly. And this is rising further as you go into optimization mode. The law of diminishing returns, does work here. So after a certain stage, you do have to work harder and you slow down in terms of deflection rates. But that's what happens when you get closer and closer to 100%.
Great.
Can I give an almost political answer?
Yeah.
In that I don't know the numbers, but they were obviously good enough that we're here. So the product works, and we're still using it.
Great. I'm going to turn it to the floor to see if anyone in the room has questions. Yep, over there. Please wait until you have the mic, and if you could stand up, please, so we could see you. Thank you.
Hello. Is this working? Yes. With regards to the observability challenge, you've all mentioned it. With AI, we know that it can go off the rails sometimes. How are you handling that? How are you handling running AI at scale for many thousands of customers, hundreds of thousands of customers, while managing that observability?
Can I start, or?
I don't mind going first. Short answer is evals. So we basically have to build a bunch of different evaluations to see how our system performs under a bunch of different circumstances. And there's a lot of nuance into the different circumstance, the different contexts that it can have, and what types of different jobs people are doing. And so we basically try to measure all of that and then just improve it. And different contexts, different use cases have to be tackled individually, pretty much. And so we have to take a very generic, general problem and break it down into subsets of smaller problems that have their own unique solutions.
Maybe Des, you can also give an Intercom perspective.
Sure, yeah. So for Finn, at any given point, there are a lot of A/B tests where we have a lot of candidate changes that we might make. Finn, I think, is the byproduct of probably at this point several hundred A/B tests. We have a complete sort of torture test suite that any change has to go through to make sure that that it won't go off the rails, as you said. And going off the rails can be just wrong. It could be hallucination. It could be willing to talk about things it shouldn't talk about, or it could be prompt injection. Any of those sort of things. We stress test everything against all of that. Then we also monitor it in the wild as well. And then we also look to our own customers. Generally speaking, errors come back to us pretty quickly. If Finn gives an answer that was wrong, we actually built a lot of features in the test feature that Paul showed earlier. What we used to call it the playground, where you can actually interrogate and see. Finn will document its thinking every step of the way for our customers to see. So when you're looking, why the hell did Finn do this? You can see I applied guidance rules 3, 4, and 5. I documented my thinking I just thought, and I thought it was a bug report, so I did the following. So you can actually kind of trace the origin story of every Finn behavior in the wild, which is what a lot of our customers do. That was really necessary for us to build, because a lot of the time it is actually some conflicting instruction on their side that they weren't aware of. But whenever they trace and they're like, no, this seems like an actual bug, obviously it'll find its way back to us and we'll work out exactly where we're wrong. But it's not, we can't read, the conversation volume is insane, right? It's tens of millions or whatever. So it's mostly a case of extreme testing, very, very torture testing, A/B testing, and then building all the user-facing tools to let them do their own auditing as well.
One thing, Des. We also are trying to teach people how to think about these types of problems. We have a kind of phenomenon, maybe it's got a name, where we hold AI to this crazy standard, and we don't hold humans to the same standard at all. And so, how good is it compared to what? And we've learned, again, through partnership with our customers, going deep, talking to them, that humans aren't great sometimes too. Not just in customer service, but in coding. People build up tech debt, and it's really important. I think it's amazing that we have this technology. I think I'm very positive about it. I think it's going to free people to do incredible things. I use Lovable. I can't code, but I can build things now. And it's just an amazing, magical experience. And when we're kind of critiquing it, I think we need to critique it with the right, mature mindset. It probably needs to be a lot better than people for it to be valuable and useful, and for us to accept that the change is worth it. But it's nothing is perfect, and it's not a perfect technology, but people aren't too.
Just to build on that, actually, earlier when I was saying we have an accuracy rate of 80%, it's not that it's 80% isn't 80% of perfection. It's 80% is I got enough of a good thing in the right direction that I'm willing to take the next step again, more or less. And so completely agree. We'd never have these expectations of 100% perfection with any interaction with people, but yet we put AI on this pedestal. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think this is where you need to assess your risk. Where can I tolerate wrong answers or inaccurate answers? And in many cases, if it's directionally sound, not perfect, good enough, like you say, compared to humans. where do I tolerate close to 0 wrong answers? Make sure that there are clear intents. If this is this intent, hard code this answer. So I love improvisation in some areas, but in other areas, the AI helps us identify it. And then the end result is not much different than traditional bot flows, but then I can control the really risky areas really well.
We'll take another question from the crowd. Yes?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Richard Foster Fletcher, representing myself. It's been a brilliant evening. I'm curious about the move from agent to human to agent. And I think Walmart recently went public thinking about how the shopping experience is going to be when people are using agents to shop on their websites. My question specifically, but there may be some iterations, is how future-proof do you think the CX school will be when the agents are responding to customer queries from agents on behalf of others? Thank you.
Yeah. Paul, do you want to take that one?
Thanks. That's an easy one. I think no one knows. You mentioned like I'll do 5 months. It's hard to know how this will play out. I think personally that all businesses will have a customer agent. We hope it's Finn, but they'll have a customer agent. That customer agent will talk to customers, and I think that the kind of things that it'll talk to the customers about will expand from service to success and sales. Like Des mentioned, this is a converging technology. I think these things will converge. AI has this kind of nature to pull adjacent things into the center. So I think businesses will have a customer agent. People will talk to those agents. Now, if people deploy agents, personal agents, what happens when the agent talks to the agent? And I think we don't know. But one thing that we will need in both cases is like the observability, the kind of loop that we talked about earlier. A business will be set up to kind of do this analyze, train, test, deploy. I think we'll like redeploy people working in customer service onto like these really cool new types of jobs. Individual people probably won't have the same diligence or desire or motivation to do it. And so the idea that everyone has a personal agent doing all these amazing tasks for them might turn out to be a lot messier than we think. Nad kind of mentioned this earlier, people get quite frustrated quite quickly. So we'll have to wait and see. I think we're probably a couple of years away from that type of thing becoming a reality. And when it does, I think it'll be messy at the start and we'll have to learn.
All right, one more question from the room. Yes.
Hey guys, thank you as well. This has been fantastic. I'd be really interested to hear any examples you've got of Finn managing churn within a SaaS environment, particularly. That would be a way that we'd love to deploy it. If you've got any data insights on how that's been.
Managing churn specifically. So I think what we've seen a lot of folks do when we released guidance was use Finn to basically identify the threat of churn and escalate to like some VIP inbox. So basically, hey, Finn thinks this conversation's not going well. They're asking where's the credit card settings screen, and they're expressing a lot of frustration. Finn will determine, people would give Finn guidance to say, hey, under this circumstance, always hand over to human and prioritize or escalate or whatever. So I've seen people use Finn as a kind of a front line to detect a customer who might be loose in the socket and immediately put it into an instant response inbox where an actual human steps in. I think what you're describing might be what you would do. I don't know if I have data. I haven't interrogated all of our customer setups, but the way it would work would be Finn, instead of handing over to a human immediately, would say, this looks dodgy. We should put this into a churn task, which might be like, hey, sounds like you're really frustrated with our product. Would a free month help? Could I give you a discount? Would you like this? Would you like that? Is there anything, so you could imagine how Finn would, with today's technology, to be clear, would just detect an unsatisfied customer, hand over to a Finn task, which might progressively up the ante or offer reasons to stay, offer a delay on the trial or whatever it might be, with a motivation towards keeping it, and then you would be able to set a goal against that and see if it's performing. But I can't give you stats on people who've directly mitigated churn with Finn. What I can say though is customers who use Finn generally tend to see broadly a faster response time, happier customer base, a freer support team to deal with these kind of trickier conversations. Now, and a lot of them would report as a result their business is doing better, but I couldn't say it's 4% better or whatever.
Great. All right, we're going to move on to our last question. This is from Eduardo from Taxdown on LinkedIn. I'll direct this one to Paul. Is the CX score the new NPS?
Do we like NPS? NPS has kind of similar challenges to CSAT. I think it's useful but limited, and hard to know how reliable the data you get back is, hard to know what kind of coverage you're getting. So I think CX score, and probably future metrics will to come. This is like step one. Owen said this earlier. This is step one in a journey. And I think we'll probably evolve CX score. We're going to learn a lot in the field, and new other types of complementary metrics might evolve. Des mentioned resolution rate and involvement rate, two new metrics that didn't exist a few years ago that are now like front and center for anyone using Fin. So I think we will see things like NPS, CSAT, which are very, very limited. They're survey-based. And so the minute you have a survey-based question, you're already suffering from a lack of coverage, not quite sure who's answering the questions, why are they motivated to answer the question versus all the people, the silent majority. The silent majority is a big issue for companies. They're blind to the insights. NPS has the same problems. So I think a score like CX score is just much better. It's got much better coverage. And maybe in the future, we'll kind of see metrics like CX score. Maybe we'll evolve CX score to include things like whether you'd recommend a product to a friend or recommend a company to a friend, which is the kind of thing NPS covers. So we'll see. But I do think the NPS metric is has a limited shelf life.
It's also the case, like, the amount of times you get an NPS question where, like, you're installing a new operating system. It's like, would you recommend this to a friend? You're like, I don't go around recommending operating systems to my mates to begin with. I think, like, I think the more abstract point is almost just emergent scoring based on analysis of an entire conversational experience, and ultimately full customer lifecycle will significantly beat injected questions that are quite pointy and often kind of weird, like if this disappeared, how would you feel, and all that. Like I just think it's better to actually look at the behavior. Like I often say, like, don't look at the indicator, look which way the wheels are turning. So I think what people say is one thing, but I think actually just observing their behavior. Do they look frustrated? Are they stuck on the same screen? Have they tried to build the same app 7 times and failed or whatever? That's the stuff that you actually want to observe to see if they're actually happy or not. So I think in general, I'd say emergent is the way to go, as opposed to like these sort of pokey, spiky ones.
Yeah, I do think we're in I think it's an amazing time. Measurement is going to dramatically change, I think. All the ways in which we have tried to measure different things of customer experience to date, I think we're entering a whole new world, an amazing world. Businesses will have so much stronger insights than they've ever had before. I think we're going to learn things about our company that we never, like I think someone mentioned here, like stuff you just never even thought about. Oh my God, a lot of people think that. We never thought they thought that about us, so we should do something about it, or that's great. So we'll see how it evolves, but I'm excited for it. I think it's a whole new world.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul, Yair, Nad, Des. For the closing, I'm going to invite Owen back on the stage.
All right, that's us for tonight. I hope you found it interesting. I also hope you'll play with Insights. It's a very robust, very powerful product. We're super proud of it. I'm very proud of the team that worked on it. They're all watching live. It's available today, as Paul mentioned. My thanks to everyone on the stream. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your time, your comments, and your questions. We'll have yet another built for you pretty damn soon. I think that's the first time the team are hearing that news. And thanks to everyone here in the room in London. We love being here. We love getting together in person. I hope you'll stick around. We've got some drinks here. We'll be hanging out for a little while. And we've got the Fin lab upstairs where we're going to be demoing Insights and Fin also. All right, thank you again. Take care.